Hey guys, I have a dead T580 here. My user closed it on a Sharpie right about here, just killed the screen. So we're going to replace that screen, which is very easy. Essentially, we're going to pry up on the bezel right here and move all the way around. This thing is almost like a sticker, like a very thin just sticker. So we'll peel that off. There are 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the screen flops down. There's a sticker over the cable, and then a wire bar that we removed. Slide the cable out, and then reverse the process. So I'm gonna shut this machine down. I've already replaced this machine, so I don't care about this machine booting or whatever, because he has a whole new machine, and I'm gonna wipe this one once I get it going. So unplug power. Disconnect the battery if you haven't already. You may have an internal battery. If you have an internal battery, you'll need to remove this bottom case by undoing the screws and then remove the internal battery. Flip back over. Get your spudger. I have a couple different spudgers from working on iPhones and stuff like that. You can see it's fairly thick. You might be able to use a credit card or really anything thin. Once you get it going, it's very easy. So we're just gonna see what we can do here. Okay, and you'll hear it click, click, click all the way around. Click. You may not be able to hear it. It's like half sticker, half cookie business. There we go. And I'm gonna set this bezel aside. Right here, you can see it's got a ton of little feet. See that click? And then that kind of shiny part is like an adhesive. Once you press it down, it keeps the dust from getting between the screen and the rest of the components. All right, so as I mentioned, I have I have screws here, 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 and here. And we're just gonna get those all out of there. I'm gonna leave a top screw connected until I can support the weight with my hand. That way it doesn't just flop and mangle the any of the mount points or anything like that. If you can see down here, I'm using a little magnet. I like to do this so I don't lose screws. You can also drop them in a cup or tape them to a piece of paper. Sometimes if I'm doing something that requires a lot of steps, I will write down step 1 and then tape the screw for step 1 to that step 1. And then when I'm putting everything back together, I just reverse that process. It's still being supported by the screw right here, so I'm gonna I'm gonna hold the weight with my thumb right here. Go like this. It doesn't really wanna come sliding apart because there's a little plastic nipple right here, right here, right here, and right here that are supporting the weight at the moment. I'm gonna grab these tabs and we're gonna flip it down. Just kind of rock it off of those plastic nipples. So here you can see a sticker. We're going to peel the sticker up, but leave it connected. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. All right, so we've left that connected right here. And then there's a little golden wire that we're going to flip up. So we'll flip it up right here. Just use something plastic and soft because you don't want to hurt anything. All right, so this little wire has flipped up right here. Let me move my hand so you can see. Little golden wire, it flipped up, flip it up, and then this whole cable will go that way. So we're gonna push it that way, like that. Now the cable is disconnected. What you wanna do is, if you haven't already done this, you wanna look at the part number, that SD10Q, blah, 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 blah. So that's the part number for the screen, but if you were to Google this, it would come back with like one result that was garbage. I'll put that in the description of the video so that this screen will come back for that part number that doesn't really exist anywhere else. Now right below that it says FRU01ER492. If you Google that, it's gonna take you right to laptop screens where you can get the correct part, which I have over here. So let's proceed with replacing this screen. Again, this is a 1080p, non-touch, non-glossy, just bottom of the barrel screen. But the picture's pretty good. I appreciate what the T580 brings to the table for the price, especially compared to Dell. I've been switching my whole organization from Dell to ThinkPad, or to Lenovo, I should say. Lenovo is a company that bought the ThinkPad Mark. They've been producing some pretty good computers. I don't have any problem recommending them to people. So you want to take a look, make sure the screen and everything line up the way you expect them to. There's no part number on here that corresponds with that part number we just looked at, but the part number is on the page where you purchase it. So I'm keeping this foam here just so I don't scratch it up. There's also a little piece of protective film on the screen that I'll peel off once we get the screen put back together. Okay, so first I'm going to do the cable. This. I'm being very careful. The cables really only want to go in one way. You don't want to put in a corner and then another corner. You kind of want to go straight at it, but it will feel like one corner clicks in before the other. That's just kind of how these connectors work. What you don't want to do is go in real hard with a hard angle and then try and slide it like that. That'll bend stuff. So as much as you can, if you imagine this is the cable and this is the connector, try and go in straight and then click, click like that. But again, don't go in like this, click, click. That's not going to help you. Now we're going to pop this retention clip back over. This is just this little gold wire. It's on a 90-degree swivel. Let me move my hand again and zoom in again. Okay, so we're zoomed in. Let's see. So I'm going to take this little swiveling wire here. I'm going to press it down. It's going to click into place. Click one side. Click. Sorry for blocking the view. Just want to make sure it clicks. Now, on the side of the cable right here, on the housing for the cable, on the side of the housing for the cable right here and right here, there's two little tabs that are sticking out. And as that wire comes over, those tabs will grip them. So you just want to make sure that you pop it down below that and that ear right there, okay? Now we're going to put our sticker back. Then we'll gently bring the screen up and rest it on the nipples right here. Right there, right there, right there, and there. Now we'll put the screws back in. If I were running through this real cowboy style, what I would do right now is power it back up, make sure the screen was working, and then screw it in while it was still running. I don't recommend you do that. I recommend you take your time and do it the right way the first time. I'm screwing the screw backwards until I hear it click, and then I'll go forwards. That's how you can prevent screws from stripping when they're tiny like this. I'm using a Craftsman number 0 screwdriver that I've broken the tip off of so that it seats down into the screw hole a little easier. See how it's kind of flattened at the end? So there's 0 and 0, 0. So here is a 0 that I have not broken the tip off. You can see how much sharper it is. It tends to slip out of the holes for me. So you can buy any good, electronics repair kit from a number of sources. I think Laptop Screen sells them as well. I work on a lot of laptops, so I kind of have the tools that I prefer, but if you're only doing this the one time, anything will do. Though you get good at it, you might be doing more of them for friends and stuff. Okay, so I'm putting in my screws. No real rhyme or reason. Sometimes when you're screwing things in, you want to do it in a certain way, like 1, 2, 3, 4, to apply tension all at once and then tighten, like for a heatsink or basically a heatsink. That's usually what you use that for. Do that for. Okay. All right. So I walked right out of that screw right there. And I'm having difficulty because I'm trying to keep my face and head out of the way because my face and head are large. Okay, now at this point, I want to boot it up to make sure everything's good before I put this thing back on, because this is rather flimsy and I don't imagine you're going to be able to put this on and off very often without screwing it up. And since I feel like I have limited chances at it, I'm going to do it the right way and test before I do final assembly. So I'm just going to plug it in and skip the battery. These T580s are amazing. Well, actually, any USB-C laptop is pretty amazing because you can just use the same power adapter for all of them. So if you're like me and you've got a mixed fleet, some Dell, some Lenovo, it's pretty nice. All right, so I'm going to power it up. And let's hope we get a picture. Hey, beautiful picture. Look at that lovely IPS screen. It's just a rich, beautiful screen. Let me turn it towards you a little bit. So see how it's kind of glossy and not so, you know, nice looking? That's because it still has its film on right here. And if we trust that the screen is working correctly, which I trust that the screen is working correctly. Hey, look at that, looks great. Then I will pull that protector and then snap this guy back on, and that is it. So I'm gonna pull power. Gonna peel. Beautiful. I personally like matte screens and not gloss screens, but I've had both and they're both nice. But if I had a choice, I prefer matte. So this process should be exactly the same whether you have touch, 4K, anything, because it all uses the same connector. Now that I have this back in here, this flimsy bezel, I'm just gonna click, 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 starting at nowhere in particular, just making sure that I get all the click, click, clicks clicked. Down here it's a little garbage because it's essentially just a glued on shroud. I am manhandling it probably a bit more than you're going to do, because the next step, I am going to see what's doing here. And then I'm going to use my spudger to get that all clicked back together. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Okay. So, it's not quite clicked in just yet. Okay, so I am pressing down on the adhesive strip that goes all the way around it. You can buy new adhesive strip if you want, if you care. I expect to get 3 years out of the laptops that I throw out in the field because my guys are super hard on them. So I'm not super picky about the aesthetics of them because my guys do their best to wreck them. Okay, so that is essentially it. Just gonna put the battery back and call her done. Now, I looked at YouTubes for other ThinkPad models all over the place, and they basically all used the same method where you peel the bezel, do the 4 screws, flip it down, undo the cable, reverse the procedure. The only thing I noticed that was different between this laptop and other ThinkPads that I've been looking at is that the bezel on this T580 is much, much thinner than it appears the bezel is on other ThinkPads. So while it was very flexible and I didn't feel like I was going to break it, I would caution that you, when you're peeling, you don't peel so hard. You just kind of like work it all the way around as you're going up and over. All right, wish you the best of luck. I hope yours goes smoothly. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment down below. All right, good luck, dudes.